Hello fabulous humans. I'm here in the city of Bristol in the southwest of the British Isles. This is a city that I used to call home for many years, and it's a city which a number of pieces of work brings me back to this place fairly frequently. And I was just reflecting on the idea of the spirit of urban spaces. So I'm very fortunate to live in a place where I've got a kind of small town environment, but I've got within very easy striking distance of where I live the sea and the moorland and the woodland and so on. And I think a lot of people who are interested in that kind of pagan, neo-pagan thing, we really privilege and really appreciate the natural world, for want of better terms. But a city is also a species of natural world, and also very much has its own kind of spirit and its own magic. So recently, down at Crossbones Graveyard, we had the 23rd year, the sealing of the magical spell that John Crow and Katie Chaos and their crew, their family, have been cultivating in central London. And John is one of those people that when you speak to him, you really get a sense of that kind of Blakean vision of the magic of the city. And I think that that's the case in many, many places. It may be harder to see the magic for some of us when we're in this kind of urban space, because we're seeing the work of other humans, and we're seeing the buildings, the concrete and the steel, and we're not surrounded by the kind of the organic structures that we've kind of evolved to be around. But at the same time, there are those stories and those narratives woven into the fabric of the buildings, and the way the roads meander from area to area, and each part of the city having perhaps its own different kind of character. Something I particularly love about cities in Europe, and especially the British Isles, is just how organic they in fact are. Something I find somewhat strange when I go to other places, Australia, the Americas, North America and so on, to have cities that are so kind of grid-like, whereas somewhere like Bristol has formed over many, many, many hundreds of years, and formed very much in response to the landscape that underlies it. So in a way, the structures that humans throw out, the kind of buildings that we create in these environments, kind of grow out of the landscape to some degree. I really noticed that when I was in Barcelona with the Gaudi Cathedral, just how the organic quality of the building is one of the most fabulous things about it. And certainly in a lot of the older European cities that I'm familiar with, the sense that the city has grown out of the landscape rather than been imposed on it is something that I think is really powerful. But even in those much more modern cities, those places that used to be colonies of Britain and elsewhere, even in those kind of grid-like spaces, Seattle that I was in recently, there is definitely very much a spirit, or many spirits, in these locations. And I think part of our role as human beings, particularly now we've come to live in these places, is to find ways of being with those spirits, cultivating those spirits, connecting with them, and showing others where that spirit might lie. And that could be through understanding the history of the place, visiting the museums and the galleries, contributing to the cultural life of the place, cultivating a garden in that place, celebrating by tagging with beautiful artwork and astonishing graffiti the crumbling walls of that place, or simply for caring and knowing the people of that place. The spirit of the city is definitely very much alive here in Bristol. Thanks for listening. Go well.